Alright, there were repairings, but we actually get to keep our feature match, as both these players are undefeated and don't really have a lot of other people to compete with anymore. So, welcome viewers, listeners. Let's get ready for a round 3 between Edouard and Lars. A quick look to see what our leaderboard says, just to know if these players are actually still playing, are in contention for a draw, a bye in the finals. WordPress. For people who are wondering what the hell I'm talking about when I refer the leaderboards, you can have a look at those at gentrymagic.wordpress.com. There's also some explanation. So at this point we have Lars in 8th place and can realistically still get into top 2 to win a bye, and Edouard in 18th place, too far down to actually still win something off the leaderboard, but of course still in contention to win some nice boosters tonight. And we have the role to decide who starts. We know that Edouard is playing Rise of the Tides Blue-Black Control. I'm not sure which deck Lars is playing. He used to be our tutelage guy, but he's been playing other decks as well. I see white cards in his hand. There is a white blue tutelage control deck as well right now, so could still be tutelage. So if you just joined us recently, my name is Niels, I'm your commentator for tonight, and you are looking at round 3 of the Gentry ladder tournament, Gentry being a budget format version of standard, where you're allowed only 15 uncommons and 4 individually different mythics and or rares. It's a surprisingly diverse meta game, and it's an awful lot of fun to play. So we've had a few mid-rangey decks in the feature match so far, and now we have 2 blue players facing off against each other. Just to illustrate that we do have some other things to fill the meta game. Curious to see what Lars will be playing. At least I'll have some time to talk during the early game, since it's very unlikely that these players will do more than play the occasional anticipate. That's the awkward thing about a control-ish matchup. There's not that much going on in the beginning, and there's a lot of dead removal. So Lars on blue-white. And not sure, is that an anticipate promo being played? I think it's a promo anticipate by Lars in the response to the draw spell. Edouard, welke spel is dat van u? Hoe noemt je spel van u? Uw spel dat je net gespeeld hebt. Ja. Pieces. Yeah, Pieces of the Puzzle is the card that Edouard played. Kunnen jullie ook de live totals 5 centimeter dichter schuiven? Of zo, is ook goed. Alright, so both players are setting up with card draw spells, pieces of the puzzle for Edouard to fill his graveyard as well. With Rise of the Tides, Rise from the Tides, those are actual value, and Lars showing he's playing a more tempo version of blue-white control. So likely a comparable version to Lars, and that's Jace's archive. So Edouard gets to scry one whenever he plays an instant or a sorcery spell. In the meantime, he is under a little bit of pressure, but of course, him being a control deck, he has access to tons of removal and sweepers, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem for him. Now, Lars gets on the board with a Gideon though. That's a lot more potent than the token it replaced for sure. So this is a bit of a difficult board for Edouard to handle, especially at the time where he has just this much mana available to him. Let's pour over the pages. Oh yeah, all his instants and sorceries are one cheaper as well. So Edouard digging to ensure land drops and of course finding the removal he so desperately needs at this point. I was saying, with such a diverse board for Lars already, different types of permanents that are proving to be problematic, it's gonna be a bit more difficult for Edouard to find answers to this. A lot of the removal that works well on planeswalkers is rare itself, and so it's really hard to fit that into a Gentry deck. So that's Reef Soul on the Sky Spawner. To clear a bit of the board, and he keeps digging to find an answer to. Oh, we also see Edouard wearing the little crown. That's our current tiara, because somebody took the tiara home and forgot them. It's a sort of king of the hill thing we've got going at our tournaments. If you have the tiara and you win your match, a random booster gets given to a player. If you have the tiara and you lose your match, you give the tiara to the player who defeated you, and that player gets a booster. It's a silly little thing we've got going, but causing a lot of fun. So I think that's an ultimate price on the token, as Lars chooses to attack with Gideon over creating another token. So choosing to go on the offensive, realizing it's a very difficult permanent for Edouard to deal with. I wouldn't be surprised if the only answer Edouard has is to bounce it when it's attacking as a creature and then counter it again when it comes down. So it could be that. Yes, it was Anouk that forgot it. She stalls it, but she's judging here now, so she's made it okay again. Um, Not sure which spell that one was. Ah, I think that's the reprint of accumulated knowledge, right? The ones that draws you a card and then one card for each copy of it in the graveyard. And we have our first Rise from the Tides. So, how many? Oh, but a spell shrivel answers it. That's 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 nasty. So that's also exiled, meaning Edouard can't recycle it. That's a pretty painful thing. So that means this game remains nice and stable though, uh, except for the Gideon pounding Edouard's face. But he has two more turns to find an answer to that. Gideon coming in aggressive and in combat. Lars wants to play something. So we're still in the attack step here, and Lars choosing just to do 7 damage. Mm. Follows that up with another anticipate to scope his hand for the next turns. Plays a reflector mage. That's actually an interesting play because the reflector mage has pretty much no targets for his ability, and this way he's actually threatening lethal damage next turn, again forcing Edouard to answer two types of permanents. So Edouard digging for probably bounce spell, counter spell, removal spell. It's like the perfect cocktail to get out of this scenario. There are some interesting cards in his hands, but none of them actually help him right now. Pieces of the puzzle. Yep, apparently the stream is a bit silent because the microphone we're working with is just a headset from the outpost, and the audio input it gives is just a lot less than usual on our microphone. So sorry, but the only thing that we can do about it is asking you guys to turn it up from you. I understand that means that static is probably getting a bit more annoying, but yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. It should be better when we get our good microphone again for the finals. So look forward to that. So in the meantime, Edouard got a Reef Soul to get rid of the Reflector Mage and is now again set up to die from Gideon in 2 attacks. Not sure of what the second card was that Edouard got of pieces of the puzzle, but if Lars know that it's a creature bound spell, that obviously changes how he wants to attack here. Yeah. So Gideon again turns into 5/5, goes for the face. Edouard opts to do nothing about it, and Lars gets the excuse me gets a Whirler Rogue Clash of Wills. Clash of Will. So we're back to does Edouard have an answer to Gideon or no? He drew a Reef Soul, it seems. but that's not really an answer. And Edouard admits he has nothing to throw in front of the big back Planeswalker. And Gideon takes his second game of the evening on camera. While they're sideboarding, I'm gonna go get something to drink real quick because I'm getting a dry throat. So I'll leave you with the horrible music for a minute or so. If I take a coffee, then I won't be sleeping at all tonight. No, just some apple cider to smear the good old vocal cords. I put the win on the wrong side. It's 0-1. Lars is one game ahead, of course. Yeah, I can pump the music as loud as I want to, though I guess that's louder than you would like to, so I'm being nice to you guys here, you know? I could be doing like this the entire time. And all that without a microphone warning. Ha! See, that's what happens when players are sideboarding and you don't have anything interesting to talk about. I should have like a sheet of interesting topics ready for me. Hey, half an hour and the Belgian team starts with their Olympian hockey finals. How about that? What do you guys think? Silver medal or gold medal? Uh, is that referring to a gold medal or you want me to play the saxophone? Is this some sort of Twitch TV meme of indecent proposals that I'm not aware of? Okay, both players are shuffling up. I have no idea what they have available in their sideboards. I assume both of them have some negates and dispels available to them as their pretty core sideboard cards. The funny thing is, I actually don't hear the music myself. If I hear the music myself, it creates an echo that repeats myself and the music on the repeat of the music on the repeat of the music. So that's why I prefer. I. It's really helpful if you guys tell me if the music's too loud or not because I can't hear it. Um, Interesting topics. Well, there has been some demand for an article about mulligan decisions. There's also some general deck building strategies that some players would like some explanation about. Like why I keep telling everybody that read the bones don't fit in their aggro decks. Stuff like that. It's good in the sideboard against mid-rangey control decks sometimes. But let's focus on the game as we are on the way. Edouard opening with a island and getting a Throbbin inspector, not an investigator, an inspector, because calling it an investigator would be way too cool. And Lars drawing first blood with it. Oh, a token free blade. So Lars is full on the tempo plan here. Maybe we saw a slightly more controlling side of his deck in the previous game. Also, another idea for an interesting article would be the other article ideas were, what was I thinking about? The new cards from Eldritch Moon and the impact they will have. And soon, of course, the impact that losing Dragons of Tarkir and Magic Origins will have. But I guess that article should wait another month and a half until it's written. In the meantime, we have the little early game back and forth between a somewhat aggro deck and a control deck, getting rid of the few threats, reloading, tutoring a little bit. Lars showing he can put some pressure, Edouard showing he is capable of handling a little pressure. I'm pretty much ignoring the inspectors on the board because he really doesn't care about those. They'll probably incidentally die to some sort of sweeper. And in the meantime, they do pack for 2 turns, so if Edouard doesn't get a chain of pieces of the puzzle, it's very hard for him to set up a rise from the tides that would theoretically race 2 inspectors, but we probably won't come to that scenario just now. And I agree, Tom, on the Mulligan decision article. I don't think it's something we on the Gentry website should focus on. There's so much general information about that. Sideboarding, that's a little different because we have a unique format, and that's actually something that could be helpful to a bunch of players. Now, Lars is presenting a real clock for the first time in the game now, since the Token Free Blade died. And that one open mana could mean a lot of things. The fact he didn't play the Sky Spawner last turn might indicate he has an Essence Flux or a Dispel available, depending on what he's anticipating from Edouard, who has a Flaying Tendrils. Yeah, and that's the new remand, I think. The the just bounce something, but without a draw card attached to it. I think I like negate better than that card. All it really does now is unsubstantiate. Yeah, that's the card I was looking for. I think negate is strictly better than unsubstantiate. Yeah, I agree. It's pretty overrated. So, Lars seems to be happy to have a clock on the board and just sit that one out. In 3 turns he has the kill on the table. The Flaying Tendrils, of course, comes back for a repeat, but this time Lars is ready for it. So Spell Shrivel counters it. Yeah, yeah, I see your point, but don't forget that this is Gentry and that disperse is a common and the insubstantiate is an uncommon. It makes me not like it. Both negate and disperse being commons. I don't think the extra flexibility is worth one of your uncommon slots. That's the interesting thing about Gentry. It changes your frame for assessing the value of a card by so much. Like, yeah, the thing is here, the Edouard, yeah, I like this play. Edouard can't really afford to be greedy now. He only has uh, two attacks left before he dies. And I see three Rise from the Tides in his hand, which is pretty insane. But what he needs is another sweeper and a counter spell to go along with it. Apparently he is playing 4 Flaying Tendrils and a Languish, so it's not that impossible for him to get another one. The Rise is also awkward because the tokens come into play tapped. Um, it actually can't defend him. Like, he could only play it next turn, then the tokens come tapped and he dies on the attack back. Lars drawing some more control and gets another unsubstantiate. And I missed the rest of the cards in his hand. Tax Edouard down to 4. And I see Whirler Rogue, Dispel, and Substantiate Spell Shrivel. So no negate in his hand. But it doesn't really matter. Lars has more than enough to keep anything off the board. And Edouard still forced to play draw spells to dig into something. The problem you sometimes have with blue-black control is you draw into draw spells and more draw spells, and you don't get enough gas in between to actually get on the board. Dwar has one blue mana available to him, and the spell for backup, but Lars has double backup for this. And that is just game. Lars wins it 2-0. That's in quite a bit of a blowout here. Maybe Edouard could have played a bit more patiently, especially with his sweepers, to make sure that he can protect them. Um, but this was a pretty convincing win. So thank you very much for being with me for round 3. This was a pretty quick round actually, so I'm afraid you'll have to wait 25 minutes for me to start the final round of this tournament. So see you guys back at around 10 o'clock and enjoy the music.